Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hi there, Mark.
Good morning, Brio.
I'm still waiting on one more for quorum.
This is Sylvia Carrion. Am I in?
Pardon?
This is Sylvia Carrion. Am I in?
Yes, ma'am, I see you.
Thank you.
Looks like we're waiting on Miss Tamayo.
Thank you.
Call you Brio for Brio, like the Brio.
Give her a couple more minutes and then I'll give her a call.
Thank you.
So I guess you don't know when we're going to be meeting in person, huh?
We're hoping for 2023. There she is. We have quorum. All right. Welcome, Miss Tamayo. All right. This is a virtual meeting of the Citizens Advisory Committee to the Board of Mass Transit on Wednesday, October 12th. It is currently 3:01 p.m. We do not have a chair or a vice chair in attendance. So our first order of action is to have a nominee for a chair pro tem for today, and then to take a vote on that. And that person will be the chair for today's meeting. So do I have any nominations? Of the CAC members present, we have Miss Lori, well, we have Lori Ray and Mark Steele, but they're both alternate members, so they cannot be chair pro tems. That gives us Mr. Afravi, Miss Carrion, or Miss Tamayo.
Tamayo. Let's get Miss Tamayo.
All righty. Can I second that or?
Yeah.
Or does anybody else wants to do it? I don't know if Miss Carrion or anybody else wants to do it.
I'll let you do it.
Okay.
Who made the initial nomination?
I did. Sylvia made the nomination to get Elisa Tamayo to head the meeting.
Right. Sounds good. Do I have can I have a vote?
Can I vote? This
Yes,
me, Mark.
absolutely.
So can I?
Everyone can vote.
Okay, yeah, I'll do Mr. Myers. Tamayo.
Okay. Miss Ray, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Afravi? Yes. All right.
Yes,
Right. So in that case, present and presiding is Chair Pro Tem Elisa Tamayo.
Thank you.
Present,
Brie,
we
you're
also
gonna have to. You
Pardon?
help me, right? Or do I need to do anything right now?
Not yet. No, ma'am. You'll basically just mention the items that are on the agenda, and then the discussion will continue. There's not a lot that you'll need to do. Present and presiding, we have Chair Pro Tem Ms. Tamayo. We also have present for today's meeting Ms. Lori Ray, Aziz Afravi, Mark Steele, and Sylvia Carrion. That being said, we'll move on to the agenda. Notice to the public, all matters considered under the consent agenda will be considered by the committee to be routine and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussions of these items unless members of the committee or persons in the audience request specific items be removed from the consent agenda and moved to the regular agenda for discussion prior to the time the committee votes on the motion to adopt the consent agenda. With that, we move to the consent agenda. Item 2, which is to approve the minutes of the regular committee meeting of September 14th, 2022.
Move to approve. Sylvia.
Who was that, please? Sylvia?
Sylvia
Okay.
Goodyear. Mhm.
Can I get a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Aziz. And a vote, please. Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. Tamayo,
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, aye.
Awesome. All right, that passes unanimously. With that, we move to the regular agenda, which is item 3, discussion regarding presentation on Sun Metro Rising and service modifications. With that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Astrid Bunner.
Thank you, Bree. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here to present to you on the service modifications that will be coming up on November 6th, and also on the Montana Brio launch and our comprehensive operational plan, which is on Metro Rising. I know last time we had information for you regarding the service modifications. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present to you the information we presented to council. And if you have any questions, let me know and we'll go from there. Okay, as I mentioned, we are going to be launching the Montana Brio, and we're also going to be making service modifications on November 6th. The Montana Brio is our 4th rapid transit line, and we're going to have a grand opening of the new Upper East Side terminal located on Edgemere Boulevard on November 1st, which is a Tuesday at 9 a.m. So you are all welcome to join us if you'd like to be there for the grand opening of the terminal. This service modification will include more Sunday service, new routes, and addition of buses to existing routes so that we can reduce the wait times for customers and increase the frequency in which the bus comes by. We also have a robust outreach campaign to inform the riders. We'll be doing it via social media, advertising on news channels, newspapers, our shelters, inside our buses. We'll have our outreach team at the transit terminals to promote all of the new routes and changes that are coming up in November. This is the new rendering of our Sunday service map. And what we are showing you is the 4 Brio lines connecting from the west side of town, the Upper East Side. We also have the Alameda Brio in the Mission Valley connecting to downtown, the Dyer Brio connecting from the northeast to downtown El Paso. We also have Route 44, which is located in the northeast. Route 50 on Montana, it will run on Sundays in addition to the Montana Brio. Route 53. Route 53 is the, runs on the east side, it's the Montwood line. Route 59, this is the line that runs from Cielo Vista Terminal to downtown, the express bus. We are also bringing back for Sunday service Route 60, which runs to the Mission Valley. Route 89 was already running, but it will continue to run, which is the circulator from the Zaragoza Bridge to the Mission Valley Terminal. And so this Sunday service, we are adding 4 new routes to increase connectivity throughout the city. The Montana Brio is Sun Metro's 4th rapid transit system. It's in addition to our rapid transit corridor. It will connect to the rest of the Brios. This project was approximately $49 million, and it was funded through FTA grant, Texas Transportation Grant, and a local match from our city. The beginning of the route will be at the 5 Points Terminal, and it's going to run to the Upper East Side Transit Center, which is going to be the brand new facility located on Edgemere and RC Poe. And the buses will start running on November 6th. As I mentioned, the Montana Brio will run from 5 Points along Montana. It's going to make its way to the International Airport, where there will be a new terminal built also. It's a smaller type of terminal, but it will give customers shelter from the weather. From there, it's going to the Cielo Vista Transit Center. It's going to be on the outside of the Cielo Vista Transit Center. It doesn't go directly into the center. And then from there, it runs back to Montana through Hawkins. And then it makes its way to the Upper East Side Terminal. Additional service modifications that are coming up in November 6th are the route. Of course, the route for Montana Brio is going to be activated. We will also have a new route called the Montwood Express. This route is going to provide service from George Theater to downtown, and it's going to run every 40 minutes during peak hours only. We are also going to be adding buses to Route 68 and Route 69, which both lines end in the park and ride services for the Montana Brio. So this will reduce the frequency in those buses from 120 minutes to 40 minutes minimum. Route 33 will have a slight change, as now it will service the El Paso Airport Brio shelter. Route 50 will no longer service the airport because we will have Route 33 and the Montana Brio has complementary service. Route 51, there'll be a slight routing change I apologize, Route 51, 52, 54, and 56. So these routes will now be entering the Upper East Side Transit Center. And then Route 59 will now be active on Sundays and holidays. And we also have Route 65 that's going to be active on Sundays and holidays.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Will routes 14 and 15 here on the west side, are they going to be operating again on Sundays?
Not on this service modification, sir. We looked at all the requests that we had for Sunday service, and we haven't received any for the west side, but I'll jot it down so that we can put it in. But if you need service on a route that's not operating on Sundays, please call us so that way we could keep track of where our customers need service, and we could put them on the, on the queue to activate as soon as we have enough workforce.
And you are going to be sending out a pamphlet regarding the the ceremony will be taking place and everything?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We sure will.
Okay.
We'll send it to Bree so she can send you all invitations too.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Route 60 will have a schedule change as it's a Mission Valley circulator. This route will experience a change Monday through Friday. We'll add an additional bus on there, and this route will also be active on Sundays and holidays. And then the Alameda Brio is one of the most utilized bus routes on Sundays, so we will add a bus to this line so that we could get more frequent service for customers on that area. And then just the last, before we go to the last slide, we have our Sun Metro Rising project. As you know, Sun Metro has utilized the time during the pandemic to bring on a contractor to help us do a comprehensive operational analysis of our transit network. And the project is called Sun Metro Rising. We've discussed it before in the Citizen Advisory Committee, but they have now evaluated our system and given us a report of the state of our system, and they've also compared us to other cities. And so what's next in the project is they're going to give us their recommendations for our routes and how they should be operating, and they're going to help us modify them so that we meet the public's needs. They're going to hold stakeholder meetings. We have the one scheduled here November 9th from 1 p.m. to 2:30 at the Sun Metro admin offices at the talk. And then we have all of our public meetings where they'll be meeting with the public from November 8th through November 10th. They'll be at the terminals, and they'll also be at the Sun Metro Transit Operational Center. They'll be at the Downtown Transit Center, Stella Vista Transit Center. They're going to be at Five Points Transit Center, the West Side, Mission Valley, and the North Gate.
Oh, good, thanks.
So they'll be covering every area where we service, talking to customers to get their input and feedback on the recommendations that they're making for service modifications for their study. And as I mentioned, the grand opening of the Montana Brio is going to be on Tuesday, November 1st at 9 a.m. at the Upper East Side Transit Terminal. If you would like to join us, here's our open invitation for you to join us there. And like I said, I'll give Bree the flyer so that she can send it over to you. And this is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm open to it.
Right, that's the new Far East Transfer Center, right? The new Far East?
Yes, sir.
That was a great presentation. Thank you, Astrid. Bree, do we move on to the next item?
Did anyone else have any questions for Ms. Funner? If not, Ms. Tamayo, we can move on to item 4. Discussion regarding presentation by staff on the Lyft app.
Okay.
Oh,
Should we open that discussion, or do we have anybody? Are there any items under that item for discussion?
That was all of item 3, unless someone else has a question for Ms. Funner.
So what we have scheduled, just some information for you. We've launched the new software for the Lyft service in September, and so now that we are having we've trained, we've been going through trainings with staff. We're still helping them with any issues that they've had. We ran into an issue with the devices that we currently have, the iPads. We ran into that issue early on, where it was where we found out that a driver could, for example, go to a house and say that he was in front of the house but not really be there. And so what the recommendation from our software vendor was that we switch devices to the Android device and move from the Apple device. And so we've done that, and we're about 20% complete on switching over. And that should resolve that issue. So a driver will never be able to notify someone they're outside of their home if they're not actually there. So that should resolve that issue. Then we have the mobile app integration that will be happening with the website and the mobile app. We have that in our project to be scheduled in December. And so we're working right now in the back end and making all the necessary adjustments that we need to do to be able to do that. And we are moving the project along, and that's the earliest timeline that I can give you today, unless something were to come up, which we don't expect, but sometimes some things do come up. But if all goes well, we should have that launched in December.
Okay, so right now our clients should still be calling in to schedule their rides?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, this is Aziz. What I see, yes, they have improved, but of course, one of the questions I had, when you're making a schedule or with the Lyft, you receive a call 2 times and 2 text messages say, for example, I make a schedule for tomorrow, make my schedule for tomorrow, one for pickup and one for return. So I receive 2 phone calls right away. Then with the phone call, it would tell me what time is my pickup. Then my second call, I get a call, what time is my return back? Then I get the first text message, what time is my pickup? When I get the second text message, what time is, I said, that's aggravating. I asked, is it possible you guys would work on, I'm sorry, my office phone. Do I get, do we have an option to ask only text message or phone call? Or when they come for you, they texting you, calling you? And I said, that's too many things at the same time to respond. I was wondering, have they started working on that? They started giving an option on that?
Yes, sir. Let me look into that. I had not heard of that. Thank you for bringing it up. I will give you I will look into it and see maybe what's happening with the account that it's making double calls and double texts, and then I'll provide some feedback to you. I'll send it through Bree since it's part of the Citizen Advisory Committee. And then if you need any further help, just contact us and we'll be happy to help you.
How about on the mobile app? This would be part of agenda too, or we have to make it a different agenda for that? Because on the mobile app, they're supposed to be includes the software to update on it.
Yes, sir. So that one's going to be in December 2022.
That's what you, as you mentioned. Okay, you
Yes, sir.
mentioned that.
Yes, sir. It'll be December 2022.
So Ms. Estrid, was that covering item 4 and item 5? I know they were related.
Yes, Melissa, there's any other questions that I could answer for anybody while we're here?
Yeah, this is Sylvia Carrion, and the only question that I have or request is that you said that Ms. Brianna will send us this information to our emails. This presentation that you just gave us, she'll be able to forward it to our emails.
Yes, I'll give her the presentation and she can distribute it from there. Well, I think you already have it, right?
It's the same one from Mass Transit yesterday, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and send it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sylvia.
Thank
One
you.
last question. Will you be sending out an announcement? Or do our clients just need to log in starting in December to see if it's up and running?
We will announce it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, were there any other questions for Ms. Bunner?
That's good.
I just want to confirm for the record that you did cover item 4, discussion regarding presentation by staff on the Lyft app, as well as discussion regarding presentation by staff on transition from old to new app, correct?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Did somebody?
They were
Thank
2
you,
items,
everybody.
but they were very related, so
Yeah, she did. She covered them
Okay.
both.
I
fantastic.
guess so. This agenda would be number 5 for update on expanded route for Sundays. Update on that one should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your questions.
No, ma'am.
And
I asked agenda number 5. It should be updating on the Sunday schedule for the lift.
That's not on the item number 5.
That's not on the agenda today,
Well,
sir.
if you look at it for update on the transportation was, that's what it should be.
It's not item 5.
All right.
if there are any more questions on 4 and 5, or if they're not, thank you so much, everybody, for your input and your feedback. And I have my task items here, and I guess you can move on to the next item, Ms. Morales.
Thank you, Astrid.
Thank you, Astrid. Ms. Tamaya, with your approval, we'll move to item 6.
Yes, please. Thank you, Bree.
Discussion regarding presentation by staff on FTA information about trips missed by rider for reasons beyond the rider's control and determination of suspension of service. This will be addressed by Mr. Arrieta from MV Transportation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Alex Arrieta with Submetro Lift Operations. I'll be reviewing item 6 as requested. Do we have that PowerPoint available, Bree?
Yes, sir, we do. Let me share my screen here. All right, Miss Service. Just
Okay.
tell me when to flip pages.
You can go ahead and flip. Okay, so first let's talk about the communication and how we communicate to our passengers when it comes to any cancellations, the cancellation policy and missed trips. So first and foremost, if at any given point a passenger is found in violation of that policy, they will receive a detailed letter. This letter will include dates and times of any cancellation, no-show or cancellation at the door. And in that letter, it's providing them with the option of calling our internal eligibility staff members to discuss those violated dates and to see if there's anything that might have contributed to for their cancellation being outside of their control. So we're looking at things that may have occurred that you yourself are not able to change nor influence. Now, so an example of that would be an unexpected medical emergency. There's been times where a passenger has to be transported to the emergency room right away and the vehicle is showing up for them. It can be a sudden illness, especially if their disability or underlying conditions have been proven to be episodic, good day, bad day, depending on how they feel that specific day. And I believe we all experienced this one where we go to a doctor's appointment and we have to be there at 12. We get there and the receptionist tells us it's going to be about a 45-minute wait. The doctor's still looking at other patients. And so those would be examples of reasons beyond an individual's control. And so that may inadvertently affect their transportation with the Lyft. However, we have an internal policy where if we find out that any cancellation is indeed outside of your control, our staff members in the eligibility department will waive those infractions or those violations and will recalculate our overall percentage to see if we're still in violation or not. And it should be noted that this option is provided twice, okay? Because initially you have to get a warning letter first before any type of suspension on the second violation happens. So we afford this option to our passengers twice. They can dispute those trips in questions, or they can provide documentation or information as to why those trips were missed and if they were outside of the control. But overall, what we do internally to notify about the cancellation policy and missed trips, all of our new passengers as of 2017, I believe, every single individual who is now approved for the Lyft, they must go through a new passenger orientation. It's a mandatory process where we go over important details such as the policies of late cancellation policies, the carry-on policy, how you can schedule, when you can schedule, and our service hours and who to call. And so that information is also distributed to both new and recertified passengers when we send out their approval letter. That FAQ can be found in their approval letter. However, if any passenger requires this information in alternate format, we will provide that to them. Granted that they just let us know, you know what, any documentation that you're sending to me, please send it electronically or in an accessible format. That way they can review that information. And lastly, all of our policies, including the cancellation policy, is also available on the Submetro website. So if you toggle to the Live section, go under policies and procedures, you'll find all that information in our FAQ, which we provide to our passengers. That's also online. Next slide, please. So when we're looking at missed trips, we want to look at the FTA policy on how FTA defines them. So if we're looking at the circular, which is 4710.1, that'll be section 8.5.4 for reference. Missed trips are defined by FTA is whenever a vehicle arrives and leaves before the start of the 30-minute window without picking up the rider, without any indication that the passenger no longer needs the trip. So for example, if we have a 10 to 10:30 a.m. trip and the driver arrives at 9:45 and leaves at 9:50, well, that is considered a missed trip because the driver was not there at the communicated window time of 10 to 10:30. The second definition would be the driver arrives inside 30-minute window and they do not wait the 5 minutes. And so let's say the driver arrives at 10:10 and they leave at 10:12, then that would be considered as a missed trip because we did not wait the full 5 minutes. Now with our current system, anytime a driver hits "I'm here," our passengers will get notified, whether it's through text message or phone call, that the vehicle has arrived. And on the driver's tablet, they will see a countdown starting from 5 minutes going down to 0. Within those 5 minutes, the driver is unable to do anything other than attempting to locate the passenger, dispatch providing courtesy calls, and the driver knocking on the front door. So once that timer hits 0, that is when we can go ahead and proceed with the no-show. However, they still have to get permission from dispatch staff to perform a no-show. And that's standard practice that we've had. And the third instance that FTA defines a missed trip is if the driver arrives outside of your 30-minute window. We cannot make contact with you or you decide to cancel your trip. Again, that would be a missed trip because we were not there within the communicated time of 10 to 10:30. So FTA also recognizes that missed trips are caused by the agencies and not by riders, and therefore should not be counted against a passenger. And so these are some of the items that we also look at when we're reviewing the cancellation policy or any violated letters that a passenger may receive. So these are other items that we also look into. So I'm ready for the next slide, please. So lastly, we're talking about the cancellation policy, and I think it's important for us to go over the types of cancellations we have and how they're defined. So Sun Metro encourages all of our passengers to cancel their trip at least 1 hour prior to the start of their window. And there's various ways you can do that by calling our main line at 212-0100. You can call our cancellation line at 212-3002. And in the future, that will be an option of also made available in the mobile app. However, if you're unable to cancel less than 1 hour, then it would be considered a late cancellation. And some background on the late cancellation policy. In the past, it used to be 2 hours. Now, 2 hours was too far ahead to see if there's going to be any delays or any issues that may arise. So after meeting with our passengers, we brought that down to 1 hour, and we've seen that the number of late cancellations has really reduced because since it's closer to their appointment time, they're able to have a little bit more control and understanding as to what might occur within the next hour or so. Now, we talked about missed trip. That's whenever we arrive before or after your 30-minute window, and we do not wait the 5 minutes. So when it comes to no-show, that's just a little different. We arrive within the 30-minute window from 10 to 10:30. We get there at 10:10. We're unable to make contact. The driver has knocked on the door. Dispatch has provided a few courtesy calls. And so 10:15 comes, the driver is given the okay to proceed with a no-show. That would be considered a no-show where there's no contact made within the 30-minute window. The next one would be a cancellation at the door. So we arrive at 10:10 and we knock on your door. The passenger comes out and says, you know what, I'm not taking the trip today. It's within the 30-minute window, so they're advising us of their intent to cancel that trip. We made contact with the individual, therefore it would be coded as a cancellation at the door. And especially right now with the pandemic still going on, Sun Metro has always encouraged riders, if you're sick, please don't use public transportation for the safety and security of yourself and others around you until you feel better, you're no longer showing any symptoms. But it's also very important to recognize that many individuals with disabilities may have underlying conditions that may show themselves as a simple ailment. It could look like a common cold, a common flu, but that's not always the case. It could be a flare up of the underlying condition. So it's always very, very important to keep an open mind with that aspect. But however, passengers are still welcome to use their masks while they're on board our units. To this day, we see a lot of passengers still utilizing their masks. So if you feel that you should wear a mask, by all means, we welcome it. We encourage so. And so these are all the definitions of the cancellations policy. So what is the actual policy itself? So within a 30 consecutive day period is where a passenger has been no-showed more than twice, or those violations have accounted for 10% or more of their rides within that 30 days. So just for perspective, we take 100 rides within a 30-day period. If we no-show, cancel at the door, or late cancel about 25 of those trips, we're already at 25% in violation. And then, of course, passenger would have that opportunity to discuss those 25 trips with eligibility staff to see which ones are outside of their control. And if they find, let's say, 15 are out of their control, that policy, after being recalculated, is 15%. So that would be the first start. So we're at 15% violation for this month. In the next 30 days, eligibility staff will recalculate to see where they're at for the new 30 days. And if they're found in violation again, even after reviewing all those trips, that is when they get a proposed suspension of service. So the first violation would be a 2-week suspension period. Now, if it does continue every 30 consecutive days from there, the suspension will go up to 3 weeks and then finally up to 4 weeks. And subsequent violations will continue that 4-week period until we've no longer violated the no-show or late cancellation policy. However, just for everyone's information, when a passenger is at that point where they receive the proposed suspension of service, they have the right to appeal that. So they would meet before a panel of 3 members, and these members are Lyft users who have been trained in the ADA, local policy, and FTA policy to hear the case of the appellant, and they render the ultimate decision. They may come back and says, we're not going to deny this person transportation, therefore we're waiving the suspension, or they might come back and says, you know what, we're going to sustain the original suspension of service as considered by Sun Metro. So at this point, if there's any questions, I am happy to answer any of them.
Yeah, I have one question. This is Sylvia Carrion.
Yes.
Um, I don't take the bus, so it's kind of hard for me to envision having a policy like this. But what is the percentages of a cancellation or repetitive cancellation from a same person or several persons? That is it worthwhile to, I mean, you seem to be doing a lot for the customer, that to go pick them up and take them to the appointment, pick them up at the appointment, take them back home. And to me, that is a great service. What is your percentage, more or less, of the people that consistently keep canceling and this and that? Is this frequent?
As far as percentage on a monthly basis, we do have a high cancellation rate, and the majority of those are advanced cancellations. And so, which is what we're looking for. We don't like to see the late cancels, the cancels at the door, and the no-shows. So the earlier you can cancel your trip, the better. But when it comes to repeated offenders, at some point in time, we did have a number of them that were already on that consecutive progression of continuous cancellations month over month. However, we've seen that it has changed. So the number of trips that are being violated as far as cancellations is completely down. It's still there, but we do our best to educate our passengers. And that's one of the reasons why we started the new passenger orientation, is to really get our public to fully understand what their rights are as riders, and what their experience would be if they understood the language just a little better, as far as the cancellation, when you can call and schedule, and what options you have. So we continue to look at where we can improve, and if we have to add more items that we've seen would be beneficial, then of course we would we would start looking into that immediately.
That's great. That's great. It just seems to me like it is a service to the rider to have this kind of service from the city, and so to me, some people can be demandful, but at the same time, uh, we don't have to do this. It's not something that the city requires you to pick you up. It's a service. That's what I'm looking at it as a service that the city does for the people who are disabled or sick and have this service to they don't have a ridership with a car or a person or a relative to take them. So Sun Metro services them by picking them up and taking them there and come back. So I thank you for that information because some people can be very demandful and I don't like that.
Any other questions, folks?
I can make a comment on Ms. Sylvia. This is not a demand, ma'am. This is a part of a service the city would offer, and always be asking for the improvement. It's not something people with a disability have these services because they want it. It's because it's their need. We need to understand that one. We need to respect them. They need these services because if they could have other better opportunity, I'm sure they would have used it.
I stand with you, sir. I do stand
sir.
with you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone who has a disability has a right to this service as long as those services are being provided adequately and that individual uses those services accordingly and not abuse them. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Arietta, is still you guys, as you mentioned, at 10%, still you're keeping it 10%? In other words, since past 2017, yes, has been implemented. You guys haven't changed it. The number doesn't matter. The passengers uses a bus 10 times, 5 times, or 100 times. So are you concerned you're going to use a 10%, or the person who uses a less frequent those buses, like say, for example, myself, I'm going to use it only for 10 times a month. If 2 times will happen to me, as a job or thing requires to do that, not because we don't want it or we're trying to be using it service. So yeah, I'm going to lose it right for say 2 times a month. That would count as a 20%, or still you guys going to count a little bit linear on those ones with me?
Right. So we do look at the policy, Mr. Afravi, and the number of trips taken. What I can tell you is that each individual who is in violation of the current policy, we treat it as a case by case. We do have some passengers, believe it or not, who use the service maybe twice a month, and canceling one trip right off the bat or no showing one trip right off the bat leaves you at a 50% already. So we treat every case, yes, we treat every single case as a case by case scenario. And then, of course, that is the reason why there's also the appeals afforded to the passenger. We provide them with a warning letter first, and followed by any type of suspension. It's a proposed suspension of service. It doesn't mean it's immediately happening, because they do have the right to appeal that decision from Sun Metro. If they feel that it's unfair for them, they have every single right to appeal that decision.
Yeah, so you're following the same routine as in the past.
Yes.
So you're following the same thing. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
If I may, this is Ellen Smythe. I actually found an old email that I have between me and Rafael Fernandez on this very same topic on cancellations, because this comes up quite frequently. And so, this is just in 1 week. In 1 week, they had 4,101 trips scheduled. So, we're a very, very busy service. So 4,100 trips. And of that, 857 of them were canceled. So almost, 25% were canceled. And so that's a lot of scheduling and unscheduling that we do for people who, I don't know, and we understand there's a million reasons. Their doctors' visits get canceled or changed, but for whatever reason, some of them, like 400 of them, so half of them are canceled 24 hours in advance. So that's good. We get the 24-hour notice. But the rest of them, the other half, are canceled that same day or sometimes an hour before. Some of them don't cancel at all. They just don't show up at all. That we go to get them and they're not there. So 43 people we couldn't find at all. And 64 people, when we rang the doorbell, they wouldn't get on the bus. They said they canceled on the spot. So that's 107. So I'm not saying that people are abusing it or not abusing it, but the statistics are something that really, when you're looking at 25% cancellations every single week, that's a lot of double work for us.
So 80 over 4,000, 800 over 4,000, say around the 20%. That 20%, you're looking at cancellation include the no-show, or just entirely you're looking at the cancellation and the no-show?
Yeah, so 4,100 trips, the 20% total, 10% of them were canceled within the 24-hour, but the other 10% were the same day or no-show.
Well, remember, just the policy is as long as you cancel 1 hour prior to your trip.
Right.
So.
Right, that's the policy, but we've already scheduled it and got a driver and everything. So we schedule everything the night before. So just so you know that all the work that we do is done overnight for the next day. And so the 24-hour in advance is what we really want. The 1 hour policy is being super duper generous for the travelers.
So, Mr. Smiley, that's what I'm gonna go over that. Like, I understand some of us, we leave it to the last minute. Some of us, we are very respectful to call as soon as that we know about our transportation. But here is like, say, for example, myself, I have in my job, sometimes I have a meeting or a client comes in my office and right at the moment, which I cannot refuse a service, I'd rather to stay, even after my work hour to finish the case, take care of that person who needed services. And so my right is supposed to be there and I don't have a no-show. So, those things, sometimes we do cancel. And one of the coworkers said, don't worry about it, I give you a ride home. So, they give that friend, give a ride, but it doesn't mean we don't want it. Just I can give you a scenario only in my own case.
Yeah, right.
We don't want to abuse it. It's a service. Sometimes we do get that, not often. It does happen. It used to be we could get on that case. We would call, I cannot be attending. And they would tell us, no problem. Do you know what time you get off? I said, oh, give me a call when you get off. We would have a pickup an hour after that, half an hour after that, hour and a half after that, I would get my pickup. But right now, I don't know, they check it at all? No, we don't. That's all. They don't have any. One time they did it to me, personally to me, 4 hour and a half.
Right.
4.5 hours.
We talked about that at our last meeting.
Yes, ma'am. That is not acceptable. So, other cities, what they do, we're not asking for that even so. As well as the passenger must to follow the rule, the sandwich should follow the rule. Hey, I showed up late, I would not charge you for the trip. Even so, they do that. We don't have that in El Paso. To give and to showing the courtesy, not people to make the money out of it, but just to giving them the right, hey, we do respect, we didn't, we came for you late, even so, we don't charge you even so. You know, we don't have those things,
Is there
just
any
birds
way?
going back. Remember, we had it
So, and
hour to
also,
2 hours late to work. Now it's getting for 10 minutes, half an hour, 5 minutes, or very good on time.
yeah,
Has
we were
improved.
talking about cancellations though, but I hear what you're saying. The other point I wanted to say is yesterday at the Mass Transit Board, City Council did approve the contract amendment for MV to be able to hire subcontractors. So in a very short period of time, they'll be able to get taxis and other VBAs or, different contracts that they're working on to get some subcontractors who are willing to help us out. So going forward, those wait times should be greatly diminished.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful improvement. Thanks.
Yeah.
Going back to what we had.
Thank you, Mr. Assis and Ellen. I just have
Thank
a
you.
quick question, Bree, or Ellen, in regards to making a recommendation for City Council. What is the process? Can we, for that reason, like if there's an over an hour, and I know we were not on the topic of that, but if can we make a recommendation to City Council so they change the policy for Sun Metro? So that
Mr.
somebody,
Tamayo, since this isn't on the agenda, I'd recommend you just shoot me an email.
Okay.
You've
Yeah.
got my email address, and just include whatever your question is, and then we can get back with you directly and get back with the CAC as well, if appropriate, if you don't
Or if
mind.
you want to put it as an agenda item for the next meeting, that when we get
Right.
to the end of the meeting, you can do that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions, or do we move on to the next item? I know it says item number 7. It's for future agenda consideration. Is that?
Yes, ma'am. We had the open comment period, but nobody signed up to speak. So with that, we'll move to item 7, opportunity for committee members to request items for the following meeting.
This would be one of them.
Okay, Mr. Assis, is this something that we should consider making a recommendation for City Council to change the Sun Metro policy to allow if the ride scheduled is over an hour late, for example, or some, it like exceedingly late, that they don't charge for the ride, like you were saying other cities do? Or is this something we could bring up
I'm
for
just
discussion?
not ready because I'm just looking for, we get our, the lift has improvement to giving on time drop-offs to destination. That will be a huge improvement. I look at it right now. I don't
Okay.
think so would need it. Thanks.
Well, I agree. It would be an improvement for us, like you said, as a way of compensating for making you late for work or something. If it is like exceeding an hour, for example, I do think that if that over an hour and a half for somebody to be waiting on a ride that was scheduled to be at a certain time, I think it's understandable that you shouldn't be charged for that super late ride. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not familiar. I'm just saying, should we throw this on the table for discussion next time?
I go for it. That's fine.
Okay. I don't know. I think it's worth exploring. I do agree with you. I didn't know that there were other cities that provide that sort of apology or like incentive for the rides not to be over, an hour, over an hour late. I think it's exceeding, but that's just me. I mean, I would like to hear what other people think, or maybe Ellen, if you or your staff had feedback on that, it would be worth discussing, I think. But you said that you already discussed it at a previous meeting, but I think if there's a way to compromise, I would personally be open to hearing that, but I don't know if other members think it's worth the time.
Yeah.
We can
mean-
certainly add it to the next agenda. Mr. Afrabi, did you have some cities in mind that just off the top of your head that offer that service, just so we can do a little more research?
I can give it to you. I will be glad to email it to you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Then I say we put it on the agenda, at least for discussion next meeting.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's our, got it noted down here. Did anyone else have any items they'd like to add to the agenda? Obviously, as you know, you can email me anything that comes up later on, but if you have anything on top of your mind right now that you'd like to mention?
Yes, Mark Steele, yeah. One of the, about the, putting, all the information which you guys went over, to have that available for passengers in the when the new, rider's guide comes out.
Yes, it's going to be available on the schedules, Mr. Steele. This is Astrid. We put all the information in the schedules too, and they'll be printed on November 6th. They'll be ready for the new service.
No, but I mean though, for the rider's guide, for the policies that you went over for the cancellation and stuff like that for the Lyft rider's guide, when they put out the new edition.
There is no new changes, Mark. Just Mr. Arietta just was re-emphasizing there is no new changes.
Okay. So I think there are no more questions, right? Or any other questions, I guess, Ms. Carrion?
I
No,
have something to add to the agenda.
Okay.
Update on Sunday schedule. We haven't got any information on that.
Okay, and
On
certainly
the
add that.
left. On the left, yes, ma'am.
For Lyft only or for fixed route as well?
Fixed route mentioned today, but on the left did not.
Anything else?
motion to adjourn.
Okay, can I get a second?
Aye. So Mark Steele, aye.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Spray, aye or nay? I've got to
Aye.
finalize the votes.
Aye.
Mr. Afravi? Aye, all right, and Ms. Tamayo?
Aye.
All right, with that, this meeting of the Citizens Advisory Committee to the Board of Mass Transit is adjourned at 3:57 p.m. Thank you so much. Just a reminder, if you've seen your email, I did send you guys a questionnaire, a very short survey. If you could take a few moments just to fill that out and send it back to me when you have a moment. It's important for some of our FTA documentation.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you, Bree. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
Ms. Bree, Mark
Thank you, Bree.
doesn't have an email.
Yes,
More
I
likely
already
he-
called him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we
thank
did
you.
his over the phone.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, board members.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.